Hi everyone, welcome to our Ignite Short for today. If you've been joining us over the last few weeks, hopefully you are building up a nice little deck of Top Trumps cards now with all the Bible characters. We've got a couple more characters for you today. This is a story from the Old Testament and this is about Ruth and Naomi. So you might have some good scores for faithfulness for today's cards and maybe a little bit of cunning as well.
God's story, Ruth. So part of God's story is about a woman named Ruth, and it begins like this. Ruth lived in a place called Moab and was married to a guy who was part of God's special family, the Israelites. A few years later, though, Ruth's husband died. Instead of returning to her family, which would have been expected, she stayed with Naomi, her husband's mom. Naomi tried to get Ruth to go back to her family in Moab, but Ruth wouldn't leave Naomi, no matter what. In fact, she wanted to go back to Israel with her. Ruth said, "Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." So they both returned to Naomi's home in Bethlehem. Back then, though, it was hard for women to find work. Usually, they had to be taken care of by their husband or a dad. It's really hard to imagine that now, but Naomi and Ruth might not have even known how they'd survive. At first, to get food, Ruth went to the fields of a man named Boaz and followed his harvesters around. If they dropped anything, even just a piece of grain, she picked it up. This was called gleaning. Ruth worked from morning to night and barely even took a break. Boaz noticed. He told his workers to leave behind some extra grain for her to gather. When Naomi heard about this, she was overjoyed because Boaz was Naomi's relative and what's called a family redeemer. That meant that it was his responsibility to take care of his family. If anybody was going to rescue Ruth and Naomi, it was Boaz. Kids, we have a redeemer too. It's Jesus. He's the one who saves us. Anyway, this gave Naomi an idea. She told Ruth to put on her best clothes and perfume and then go to the place where Boaz was sleeping. Naomi said that once Boaz had gone to sleep, Ruth should lay down by his feet. Now, this may sound like a weird plan, but it was actually really brave. Ruth trusted Naomi and obeyed. When Boaz woke up, he was surprised. After all, someone was lying at his feet. That's not exactly a normal night. When Boaz asked who Ruth was, she said, "I am your servant. You are my family redeemer." Now Boaz understood. Ruth wanted Boaz to marry her so that she and Naomi would both be taken care of. Boaz agreed. This was a huge deal. Ruth wasn't an Israelite, but she wanted to follow God anyway. By marrying Boaz, she got to officially be part of God's family. In fact, Ruth's great-grandson was King David, and many, many years later, Jesus, the rescuer, was born into the same family line. Now, because of Jesus, we get to be a part of God's family too. So, in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Ruth was from Moab. Her husband died. Ruth was left with his mom, Naomi. Naomi told her to go home. Ruth said no. She went to Israel with Naomi. They needed someone to take care of them. Ruth gleaned in a field. Boaz noticed. He left extra grain for Ruth. Naomi made a plan. Ruth obeyed it. She wanted to marry Boaz. He agreed. Ruth became part of God's special family. And we can too. And that's a part of God's story.
So in that story, we saw how Ruth was faithful to Naomi, even when it meant leaving her home behind and going to a new land, to meet new people, and not knowing how they were going to survive. She was faithful to Naomi. And God was faithful to them. They had a plan for how they were going to try and help themselves, but God had a plan all along for how he was going to provide for them and help Ruth and Naomi make their new life.
When the rain came down on Noah and the floods began to rise, he was safe inside his boat. God is faithful. Joseph was thrown in a pit and his brothers the sailors threw him out, but God provided one big fish. God is faithful. Daniel in the lion's den, upright with hungry mouths. An angel came and shut them up. God is faithful. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you've done for me. God is faithful. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you'll do for me. God is faithful. Whatever happens to me, whatever plans I make, with every small decision, whichever path I take, you are always with me. You will never leave. You are faithful and you give me what I need. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you've done for me. God is faithful. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you do for me. God is faithful. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you've done for me. God is faithful. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you do for me. God is faithful.
So as well as doing our top trumps cards, maybe you could do Ruth or Naomi or Boaz, or even all three of them. We also have a challenge for you today. Ruth, in our story, had to glean in the fields in order to find enough food for her and Naomi to survive. That meant going around the fields and picking up the little bits of food that were left over after the workers had taken in the harvest. We're going to have a challenge, a bit of a game for you, using chopsticks, where you have to move something small, we're using sultanas, from one bowl to another using chopsticks. So it's just quite a difficult thing to do. Ali and I are going to have a bit of a race to be the first one to get 10 sultanas between one bowl to another. Okay, I'm going to put the camera down so you can have a look. Who do you think is going to win? Okay, ready?
Hang on.
Oh, you say you're going to win and then you're not ready. Ready, steady, go. 1,
That was too
2,
little.
3, 4, 5,
5,
6, 7,
7,
8,
8.
9,
Oh no! Come here!
10. Yes!
Oh, 9.
So much confidence, Ali, and yet such a loser. That's a bit harsh, I'm sorry. But I did win, and that doesn't often happen, but Ali's actually really good with chopsticks. Why don't you have a go with something you have at home? Have fun.